So I'm going to be starting a little discussion here off the question. How can you expect kids to care about school when they're not getting the things they need at home? I mean, really, think about it. It's a question that I feel like has probably crossed most of your minds if you've ever wanted to go into our current education system. How can you expect kids to care about school if they're not getting the necessities that they need at home? Progress reports or report cards back home can be like a method of escapism for some students. Some kids actually have incentive to care about what they're getting. Some kids actually have incentive to care about letters on a piece of paper at home. Not everyone can be that lucky. There are so many kids who genuinely never feel safe at home. At least from what I've seen, school is a place that your parents need to go to set up your future, bring back good grades, and build up values and hard work. But for so many students, school is simply just a place where there's safety, consistency, and a meal just once every day. And that's an issue, because so much of what makes school important happens outside of the classroom. Studying, applying concepts, and putting key frames together. How can kids be expected to find the foundation for motivation to prosper when there's nothing implemented in our school system to give them a reason to care? Maybe not everyone, but I personally expect that kids from lower economic households will be the ones to receive the most motivation to do well in school. A system where parents push their kids to not make the same mistakes that they do, and kids push themselves so they grow up and not make the same mistakes as their parents. The issue here comes from the fact that this concept exists solely in the opposite. Middle to upper class parents have the ability to instill their kids with something that I believe is most conducive to the academic process. That's motivation. Intrinsic motivation is what pushes so many kids to push past the boundaries where other students falter. Motivation is instilled until it becomes natural. It takes motivation to do things like stay after school until 5 p.m. to go to a meeting. It takes motivation to ask questions in class and then actually pursue the answers. It takes motivation to do things like take AP classes, which I personally believe categorize students and separate them to model a system based more so on competition instead of cooperation. This idea of competition has been ingrained in our current public school system ever since our first establishment of higher education with Harvard in 1636. Ever since then, we've been building a school system based primarily on this democratization and competition. Replacing students in lanes and like a race, where there's only one rationalized end goal, and that's college. Except in this race, if our end goal is 200 meters away, we have one section of our competitors with 199 meter head start, and another with their shoelaces tied at the start of it. Now, right now, I can easily draw a comparison to some other Eastern examples of foreign education. Some of you might already know what I'm thinking of right now, but in this instance, I'm talking about Finland. Finland features an education system with longer individual classes, with longer breaks in between. A system that almost entirely omits standardized testing, where students are actually expected to learn in class, so that outside of class they have time to focus on things that matter, like finding things that they're interested in, and finding a reason to care when they come to school. And for someone that's been enrolled in academia for basically their entire life, this concept seems basically shapeless, entirely hopeless for, anyone who's going to school. I can't imagine coming to school and not being expected to sit down and take a test and copy that information on your scan. But nonetheless, in this small Northern European country, where it's generally very cold and the nights are very longer and the summers are shorter, they have a successful industrialized economy. Industrialized as in like math and science. As in they're smart, numbers smart, able to make money smart. It's possible to have a successful education system that leads to a successful economy without placing numbers over students' heads and forcing them into a select role. But nonetheless, we're in the United States, and the United States isn't more than 98% finished. Finland is a small country that's basically been entirely untouched by innovation. Here in the US, we seek to create an education system that is adaptable for a wide variety of students from a wide variety of places. Even then, I don't think that makes it okay to tacitly accept the pragmatic terms that make up public school. Our school system works well from a systems perspective, but it doesn't really accomplish much more past that. Our school system is basically modeled to reach a concept of social efficiency. We're modeling students' minds to meet expectations. There's an author by the name of John Taylor Gatto. His writing inspired me to stand up today, and I have a figurative example for you that I was inspired by his work. Let's take a step back for a moment. I want you to picture 6-year-old Bianca in the middle of an assembly getting yelled at by a vice principal. Bianca, you animal, shut up. Some of you might already be thinking that I'm making too much of this simple act of putting a little bit into place. It happens thousands of times in schools all over. If I'm honest, I can admit to something similar with my own classmates. Schools are supposed to teach kids to place. It's part of why we have engagement in classes. It's what we do. It's called social efficiency, right? I get this big conversation. Until we flash far forward into the future, where maybe your own daughter, your own son, one of your own classmates, or in this instance, another little girl from Bianca's class, like Jane, leaves her comfortable home and wakes up to a world where Bianca is an enraged, unmotivated product of her current school system, where she's taking more from the economy, when she already has so much ability in her to actually give. I picture this animal, Bianca, grown large and mean. The same Bianca who missed school for a minute after her little friends started whispering, Bianca is an animal, Bianca is an animal. The same Bianca who sat choking back tears during a reading selection by guessing what the words meant because she was too afraid to ask questions. Bianca, at this point, actually, let's not stop there. Let's keep going. Let's say Bianca goes home every night to the double twin bed. Her and her mom have to share in the most hard day. Some students can't feel safe at school. And some students, like Bianca, can't feel safe at home with the words check out at 9 p.m. posted above their bed. Let's say Bianca, come middle school, is in Math 7, when the rest of her class gets through in the Math 7 class. Come high school, she's taking standard classes when the rest of her classmates get through in the AP and IB classes. Bianca isn't getting motivation at school because she's an outcast in school. Bianca isn't getting motivation at home because her mom's gone off all night making minimum wage to provide for her. Where does someone like Bianca go to receive motivation, to find a reason to care, a reason to do anything, a reason to come to school and actually care about what the teacher's talking about? In a system where help and support aren't exactly easy to find because everyone is so busy competing. My name is Cameron Riley, and this is my time. I used to stay in hotel rooms, just like I kept with Bianca. I used to move from shelter to shelter, just me and my mom growing up. I was in Math 7 when I was in middle school, and I barely knew what an AP class was when I was a sophomore in high school, just before my junior year. I know what it's like to be churned through a school system that aims at making me socially efficient. And I know what it's like to be an outcast that draws attention from the lack of attention that I got at home. And even then, now I live in a beautiful North Oklahoma. I don't live in the same situation that I used to, but I can say it, that I've seen two different perspectives. I live in a house where I'm loved and where I'm warm, where I'm pushed and I'm instilled with motivation. If there's anything that I want to say is most important, if there's any word that I want to discuss on here today, it's motivation. How exactly Do you expect students to find a reason to care about their classes, a reason to be motivated when they're in classes with students that are just as unmotivated as them? Here's a picture for you. Imagine you're sitting in the back of your classroom, the projector of the teacher about 9 rows ahead of you. And every single person in each of those 9 rows in front of you are either tuned out on their phones, not paying attention. What reason do you have to care? What reason do you have, maybe if you're confused, you don't understand what's happening, to raise your hand and actually ask a question? You could, but you'd be breaking the rules of social efficiency. Some of you might already be thinking, if I was there, obviously I'd raise my hand and ask a question. But even then, you still suffer the consequences. Do you really want to be the one person to do what actually requires effort? To make yourself stick out and be the one person that actually cares in the class when no one else does? As someone who's been there, I want to tell you, I don't think so. A big change that I've seen after I started moving up and taking AP, IB classes, things of that nature, is that the laws of social efficiency are still there, except the rules are just flipped on their head. Instead of being ostracized for caring about your classes, generally you get left behind. You don't show the same initiative as every other student. I can't tell you how many times I've had the same conversation with other students. That sometimes it's scary to ask for help, being someone who has a course load full of nothing but other AP classes, and being in a standard math class. I can't tell you how many times I've raised my hand in history and asked a question on something that happened over 80 years ago that seems basically irrelevant in my own life, and that someone turned around and looked at me like I'm crazy for not being afraid to ask a question and not being afraid to admit that I'm wrong. My point here is, this concept exists on both sides of the spectrum. The rules of social efficiency and competition are pushing students away from each other, and they should be working together. The objective of fitting in, and competing, and getting to our one rationalized end goal is constantly pushing us away from each other, when we could be working together. We could be motivating the students that don't have incentive at home and don't have incentive in class. The thing is, I really don't like this. And I can say that. This is my TED Talk. These are my opinions. Why, for the sake of social efficiency, and why, for the sake of competition, are students constantly being pushed away from each other? Here at TEDxEnloeHighSchool, High School, we have about 2,500 students. Of that 2,500, about 70% of it is made up of minorities. About 40% of that is made up of African Americans. Even if these numbers were to be completely false, why is it that in most of my AP classes, my IB classes, do I never see students who look anything like me? And why is it that I can remember a different point in time when I was taking standard classes where almost everyone looked the same as me? There's a decision in choosing to care about school, one that I believe starts early. My issue is, after I get placed in classes with other students that are motivated, other students that care, and that are pushing their way to this end goal, why is there nothing implemented into the system to be able to reach back to the students who don't have that same incentive? School really just isn't easy. But it's hard. People are worth more than just grades on sheets of paper, or letters on sheets of paper. Our character Bianca is not him. If anything, she probably has more civility for having the courage to speak up when she needs to. I'm not stupid for wanting to ask questions in class. And every single disenfranchised student who doesn't have the same accessibility to their counterparts has the same actual ability as every single other person that places classes. For me, there was a friend who told me that I should care about school. There was a friend who told me that I should be motivated. There was a friend who pushed me along throughout most of my academic journey. There was a friend who gave me incentive when I had a lack of incentive outside of school. Someone just like other students sitting next to you in your own classes. Why can't more students be there for each other like that, instead of constantly competing with each other? Basically, my point is, we can't exactly all have the exact same resources, but we can all have the same support for each other. We're all here in school for the exact same reason, because someone told us we had to be here. So why can't we all give each other the reason to want to be here? Even if we're all competing, basically all team sports require some sort of cooperation. Even then, there's a little thing called good sportsmanship. Basically, all I'm trying to say is school should work the same way. Students should stop pushing away from each other and stop competing. No one should be coming to school afraid to ask questions. No one should be coming to school worried about what kind of clothes they wear, what their shirt looks like, or what kind of shoes they wear. If there's anything that I think more of us should be making each other afraid of, it's complacency.